This had the potential to turn into a disaster for Golden State. Instead, this series tied up at 2 now.
I don't believe that either team deserved to win this game. If you watch the final 2 minutes of this game, both teams had these huge mental gaffes, which you thought that they probably couldn't recover from. And I know it was Golden State that won, but think about how differently we would talk about this game if the Golden State Warriors lost because of that timeout by Steph Curry. Obviously, they don't get to the place where they are without Steph. But still, that was a huge problem, obviously, when you let the Kings back in it. But on the Kings side of the ball, their final few possessions were not smart looks. Every single time they shot, you were thinking to yourself, that's the best shot that you're going to take? You're going to settle for a 3 in the corner when you're only down 1 point? What are we doing here? So I don't know if it's a testament to their youth or the fact that they just haven't been in the postseason in, forever. But it's definitely something that is alarming about the Kings because for the most part, the Warriors looked like the team that had been there, done that. And we knew that going in. They're the defending champs for a reason. But still, it was a game that the Kings definitely could have had, and it slipped out of their fingers.
It sure was. Game 5 Wednesday in Sacktown to Aaron Fox, 38 points, 9 rebounds for the Kings, but he does not take that final shot. It's Harrison Barnes instead. I don't know how I feel about that. Man, isn't everyone going to choose Adolis Garcia? Probably. I get it. He had a historical. It's hard to go against someone who does something that has only been done 25 times in the history of Major League Baseball. But I'm going to go Jalen Brunson. All right? There's something about, look, here's my case against Garcia, which it's hard to make a case against him. He was playing the A's. Jalen Brunson and the Knicks postseason basketball at the Garden. The Knicks have not made the second round of the playoffs, I believe, in almost 10 years or close to it. He's been awesome here. And remember, they traded for him, and he has been nothing but nails since they brought him in. He has absolutely delivered. I did not see the Knicks winning this series, not to say they're going to, but it has been really electric watching the Knicks and watching the Garden be the Garden, live up to its reputation and more in this series. So for him to deliver on a big stage, and they certainly did that. Had they done that throughout the series, certainly did it on Sunday. I'm going to give it to Jalen Brunson. Why not?
Yeah, Jinx, I don't think anybody's going to give it to Adolis Garcia because it's very easy to make a case against him. It's a regular season game against the A's. There's no pressure in this one. So I think you got to give it to Jalen Brunson, especially in a game where you think to yourself, if Julius Randle only has 7 points and goes 0 of 4 from the 3-point line, is this a game that the Knicks are going to win? And the reason that they won was Jalen Brunson. He's the guy that's taken on the role as the leading scorer for the New York Knicks. So I think he has been their biggest, best acquisition by far. And think about the Mavericks. How jealous they must be watching him do his thing in the postseason while they're sitting at home and didn't play a single playoff game. So I think for me, it has to be Jalen Brunson. You think to yourself that Julius Randle is the face of the franchise, but I don't think he is anymore. I think it's Jalen Brunson. No more stopping the clock on a first down, and hopefully no more 4-hour games. Of course, this will affect totals. Jinx, do you think this is a good thing, that the clock will continue to run throughout the first down?
I do, and I've always liked this rule in college football quite a bit, but I do think that there are certain games, really not just certain games, like a lot of college football games, especially maybe out in the Pac-12 late, and they can just go on and on and on. And I don't want to sit through a 4.5 hour college football game. Now, this is only going to cut off an average of 7 plays per game. But still, I think it's more in line with the NFL, and I don't want the games to be exactly the same, but I do think that maybe having some rules that are more in line with one another makes for an easier viewing experience because you tend to forget sometimes, oh yeah, this rule is different in the NFL and college. It's nice to have that nuance, but I think this is the right call.
Who do you think this affects the most? Like run-first offenses? Referees who are trying to catch their breath while, moving the chains? Because there are some offenses I feel like this won't affect at all. Like if you're playing a hurry-up style of football anyway, like isn't this what you're doing? Like despite the rule change or despite the clock not stopping?
Yeah, and I think it's going to affect totals. That's the thing that's going to be interesting to me. And I wonder if we'll be able to find any sort of value early on because games are going to move much faster now. And strategy is going to be a big part of it too. Because back in the day, you get a first down, boom, clock stops in college football, you're good to go. And so you could have that strategy in your pocket, or not necessarily a strategy, but the entire fourth quarter, if you're trailing, you need to get back in a game. All you have to do is get a first down, clock stops. And so now that's not something you can rely on. So coaches are going to have to adjust as well and say, if we need more time here, timeout management is going to be at a real premium. And so this is where coaching will come into effect, particularly in tight games. Do I call a timeout here? Do I not? I can't just rely on the clock. And as we've seen, it doesn't matter if it's the college or the pros. We've seen this as long as these sports have existed. There are even now coaches on both levels who struggle with timeout management. And in the college game, that's going to make that more of a factor.
I think that's the one that I am most interested in because there's a narrative at play, the fact that the Maple Leafs cannot win a postseason series. But which of these series are you most dialed into right now?
I think it's this one. And I'm not surprised to see the Bruins on top. We all figured that was going to happen. Carolina looks great. Nobody's talking about the Canes, but they are right behind the Bruins, tied with the Avs, I believe, at 8-1 to win the Stanley Cup. They have dominated the Isles. And in the West, Colorado got back on top, took back home ice advantage over Seattle, ruined the Kraken's first ever home playoff game. But it's the Leafs, because you're talking about one of the original teams in the National Hockey League, a team with an incredibly proud tradition and a very good hockey team. And Tampa Bay is, it doesn't matter who it is. It could be, Vasilevsky, it could be Hedman. They've had so many stars, Stamkos, they've had so many stars and have won cups, and they have solidified themselves as one of the, I don't want to say a major dynasty, but certainly one of them, one of the better runs that any NHL team has had. And this is Toronto's chance. So for a Toronto city that is obsessed with hockey, that has such an incredible tradition, for them to win the way that they did was massive. And also, I think I'm going to make a hockey play. I hadn't made a lot of hockey plays in the Stanley Cup playoffs because, just like the NBA, the lines are so tight. But I think I'm going to go with the over in this Leafs Lightning game. It's set at 6.5. I think I'm going to play it down to 6 because we have seen at least 7 goals in every game of this series. And I think we're going to see a lot tonight. These are two high-powered teams, have great net mining, but it doesn't really matter with this much talent on the ice.
Ooh, and then finally, only 30 seconds to answer this. When's the last time a team from Canada won a Stanley Cup? Aren't they supposed to be good at hockey?
They are, but the NHL is as competitive as ever. But yes, there's certainly more tradition in Canada. The last time a Canadian team won, thanks to Bill Rowland, our executive producer, the Canadiens in 1993.